What's going on, everybody? Thanks for joining the Fantasy Fitness Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Holzel. Today, we're going to be doing a live big board draft. For those that haven't drafted already, this will be your chance to check out the board a little bit and see what's going on in the best ball space, specifically on Underdog. So let's go ahead and we're going to give people a few minutes to trickle in here. And then I will go ahead and get started with the draft. Let's see. Give me just one moment. Alrighty, here. Give people a few minutes to trickle on in, and then we'll get the show on the road. Let's see. Yep. Alrighty, so we are live on X, and we are also live on YouTube. So give people a few minutes to trickle in. Thanks again for joining. For those that don't know me, my name is Matt Holzel. I am a avid fantasy football player, and this is my fourth individual stream. So I'm going to be doing this all summer, all spring and summer long. Hopefully, at least, some of the time, 50% of the time, or thereabouts, I'll have guests on here with me doing live drafts, talking about players, talking about the market, and, asset pricing on different boards. Generally I'm going to be in Underdog and I'll be on the big board or Best Ball Mania or some of the time box tournaments. But when I'm not doing that, I'll also be doing research and analysis on players and rookies, talking about those, different team environments and situations and how that may impact a player's value and what that means for those players in the market. With that being said, we are already starting our best ball season, and mostly I've been drafting big board and a little bit of the little board. Today, I wanted to take you guys through a big board draft, and as we go through the draft, talk a little bit about market prices of the different players, who's undervalued, who's overvalued, what team environments I'm, looking to get players from, which teams I'm generally trying to avoid, or players I'm trying to avoid at specific prices based on their team environment. So we'll be touching on all of those things today. Real quick, I do also just want to mention a project that I'm working on. I am a software developer by trade, and so that's what I do generally during the day. And in my free time, I've been working on a fantasy football web application called Fantasy Fitness. Fantasyfitness.io is the URL. If you go there, I've got all sorts of free information, individual player pages, and I have information about team environments. I also have the system integrating with 3 different platforms. Those platforms are FFPC, Sleeper, and Yahoo. So if you play on any of those 3 platforms, you can integrate your roster directly into the application. And then once you have your roster integrated, you can get all sorts of additional information about your teams. Let's see, we can go ahead and just pull up one of my teams for demonstration purposes. Let's see. All right, so you can see here that I have the fantasy fitness team that I've pulled up. We've got our platform that I'm playing on, Sleeper, Format, Dynasty. This is PPR, Superflex, Tight End Premium. And we have a breakdown of the roster, team breakdown, bye-week breakdown, game stacks, team metrics, roster metrics, that is, and then player summary. Let's see here. All right, I'm going to give people a couple more minutes to trickle in, and then we will get this show on the road. Let's see here. I'm going to click on this. All right. Uno momento. All righty. Well, hopefully we get a few people trickling in here. Give it just a few minutes, and then we will go ahead and get started. I'm going to wait just a few minutes, hopefully get at least a handful of people in here before I get going with things. For just a second. Not sure what I did differently. Yesterday, things really ran their course, and I was able to get a few people in here. Today, it's a little bit slower. So I'm just going to take a minute here for things to kind of settle down. All right, real quick. Yeah, let me just finish talking about the application. As I mentioned, you can integrate all your rosters directly into the application. Once you do that, you get a bunch of roster metrics at the top. You get all your player profiles for each of your players set up. And then you have the ability to add individual notes to those player pages. You have the ability to surface up those notes at the top level so you can see what notes you have across all your different players, because generally you're going to have somewhere between 20 and 30 players on any given roster that you're integrating into the system. So an easy way to summarize those notes across each of your different players. You have all your contract information about your players, and that's all going to come in handy as you're trying to win in your dynasty leagues. You can add quick notes for the week. Maybe this is picking up a player on the waiver wire or setting a lineup early, things that you got to just make sure you get done for that week generally. So shorter term notes and then also draft notes. You have a lessons learned section for your long term mistakes. So, I use this pretty frequently, whether that's, hey, jerk, don't change your lineup at the last minute. You're going to blow a championship by getting cute at the end or whatever the case may be. And then over here, you have a list of all your prospects and you can pull in and take a look at all the prospects in the system. And I'm adding new prospects every single day. So you'll see new prospects showing up all the time between now and the end of the best ball season. So definitely go ahead and check out all those cool features. Most of them are free. But yes, the key is to just get out there and check it out and let me know what you guys think. Huh. Oh, I'm gonna spend extra $10. The ladies. All right. All right, here we go. Let's get back to Underdog. Let's start talking about what we're going to be doing today. 12 minutes in, I think it's time to get this party started. It's just going to be me today, rolling solo. But as I mentioned, please check back throughout the year because I will have plenty of guests on throughout the summer and spring months, and really excited to bring on different guests, talk best ball theory, and help us build some bangers and hopefully, team that can win a tournament. So we'll just kind of see how that goes. Let's check out the little board. Maybe we can get in a little board draft and kind of just get warmed up. I don't know how fast these rooms are filling, so let's go ahead and jump on in. And we'll just have to see how quickly they're filling. So waiting for 11. We'll just kind of see what the pace is here. And if the pace isn't good, then we'll jump over to the big board. But we'll give this a couple minutes. About one. Alrighty. Well, still waiting for some people to trickle in here. Slower than I thought that was gonna be. Yesterday I had a good amount of views, although now I'm not convinced they were real. Wow. Alrighty. Well, it says we're waiting for 8. While we do that, I'm gonna check out the other draft. Let's see. Put us in the big board too, just to see what the fill rate is here. 7's not bad, but okay. Oh, let's just hop on out of the little board. We're sticking with the original plan here. Big board's going to fill in 2 with 2 people, and then we'll be off to the races. Well, that's not cool. Sorry, not a lot to say right now. I'm just waiting for the room to fill, waiting for a few people to show up in the audience. So if you're out there listening, Twitter, hop on in, listen to the radio. We'll call this radio, Fantasy Fitness Radio. Fantasy Fitness Live. What do you guys think? Fantasy Fitness Radio. No? Crickets? Crickets, is it my setup? Maybe I should switch my setup. Maybe I can switch it. Maybe it's that easy. Maybe I just go. This is what popped off last night, so I'm going to stick with how things were. You never know what could be affecting the promo and the situation, so definitely want to get that under control. Okay, we filled. Yay! Let's get it, dog. Let's get it, dog. All right, let me get to one cool feature I added today, which is the free agents list. So under NFL players, you now have the ability to search filter by free agents, so we can see just who's out there as a free agent. That's going to be super useful when we're looking at who we want to draft. The room is filled. Don't see any names. Or excuse me, Dadu. I do know of Dadu. He's the only one. Let's go ahead and draft a banger here. Robinson goes first, then Puka, then Gibbs. Followed by Chase, JSN, McCaffrey, Taylor. And I'm going to grab myself a little Amra St. Brown. Amra, how about I just say St. Brown and stop acting like a freaking idiot? How about that? Yeah, let's do that, huh? Let's stop acting like a jerk and just make a pick. Forget about it. I'm just getting over a cold, so dealing with that. Nose is a little stuffy. So hoping to have a few more people in the room. Hopefully we get some that trickle in. But it's been a little slow so far. After it took St. Brown, Lamb went off the board, then Cook, Genty, and Achane. Or Achan, I should say. Followed by Barkley, Hampton, Alrighty. Interesting. I'm going to take Derrick Henry. The big dog's gotta eat. The big dog's gotta eat. Oh. All right, 6 picks away. Let's check out the board here. George Pickens, Chris Olave at the the 2-3 turn, followed by Bucky, Rashi Rice, Josh Jacobs, Ken Walker III, Josh Allen. All right, we'll go Brees. That's a fun combo. So the start is St. Brown, Henry, Hall. I get back to the board here. Sorry, just checking things out. Lad McConkey, T-Mac, Higgins, J-Mo. What's going to happen next? Garrett Wilson. Kyron. That's a real nice price on Kyron. Travis Etienne. Let's go Zay Flowers. Let's go Zay Flowers. All right, so St. Brown and Zay, and then Henry and Brees. I think that's a nice start. Get back to the board so you guys can just kind of see how the board is falling. I'm a little less talkative today. My cold still hasn't totally been resolved, so a little stuffy, a little hoarse. But regardless, I've put together a good team here. After I took Zay, Travis Etienne went off the board. That's a click I'm not making right now. Then we had Adams, Smith, Devonta Smith, Scatabo, Terry McLaurin. Coming around the 3-4 turn here. Excuse me, 4-5 turn. We had Loveland come off the board, and then we'll just kind of see what he does here. So far, he's got a hero build going. Continues that with Odunze. See if Lamar makes it back. I don't think he will, but if he does, that's going to be an easy click here in the 5th. If he doesn't make it back, then as I've been talking about, I like these rookies in this range. I also like Christian Watson. Waddle, I think, needs to come down a little bit, and I think his price will. I think there's just too much uncertainty there in the Miami offense and really the team in general. The dysfunction that they have down there in Miami. As much as I like Waddle as a talent coming out of Alabama, I don't think he's fully lived up to that top 10 draft capital. He has gotten the seas have parted a little bit with Hill being gone, but I still think there's a little bit of an uphill battle there for Waddle, just given really the team and the organization. Here it's going to come down to Lamar if he's there. If Lamar's not there, then I'm going to take one of these wide receivers. All right, we're going to take Lamar. I think that makes sense. He's fallen, and I have Zay to kind of get the stack going along with Derrick Henry. So I've got a Ravens build going here. A stack, I guess you can say, along with kind of scooping up a lot of the rushing touchdowns on this offense. We'll recap the team real quick. Quarterback, we have Lamar. We got him 8 picks past ADP. Derrick Henry and Brees Hall at running back, and then St. Brown and Zay at wide receiver. No tight ends yet. So pretty balanced build at this point. Haven't, just kind of been playing the board and went for, I guess, a little uniqueness in round 2 by pulling up Henry. That was just kind of trying something different. And I think so far it's worked out just by the fact that these other guys have, or Lamar kind of fell back to us. All right. I would have loved to have gotten one of those rookies there. That didn't happen. Go ahead and take Sutton here. All right, let's take a quick break. Stay with me, guys. My daughter's TV just turned off, so be right back in between kicks, and we'll keep this going. All right, guys, thanks for sticking with me here. It's going to be a little bit of a back and forth here for a second, getting my daughter set up on the TV, but nonetheless, let's get going here. Let's refamiliarize myself with the board. What do we have going on? All right, so I'll be looking at tight end, wide receiver, maybe running back. Let's see. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Feel free to drop a comment. If you like the show, and again, I'm just getting started here, so apologies if I'm a little rusty. We're going to go ahead and grab Fan in here. I like his price. I like his skill set. He's a unique prospect. 21-year-old rookie. Absolutely crushed it last year. He's 6 picks past ADP, so I like the value there. Also working some divisional correlation here between Baltimore and Cleveland. I like to do that when we don't know the schedules. And, there's a chance that these divisional games get set up for week 17. So that's definitely something that I like to do early in the season. They also play each other twice a year, so that can help as well. All right, so 3 picks away. Just kind of assessing what we have here on the board. Jacoby, he's locked in Jacksonville with that new deal. Chuba Hubbard's also pretty locked in as a starter. Do you like these wide receivers in this range as well before things kind of taper off? Yeah, let's go Jacoby. I think this is a pretty fair price for the value that he provides. He's locked in Jacksonville. There's some uncertainty now about Travis Hunter's role. Opposite Brian Thomas Jr., I think we can be pretty certain that he's going to have a good target share, and just be kind of locked into a role. So let's recap the team real quick, and then I'll need to take a quick break, real quick break just to check on my daughter. But team so far, we've got kind of a Ravens build going here. Lamar Jackson, we got him at 56, so that was a nice scoop at value. Derrick Henry and Breece Hall as our 1-2 punch at running back. And then we have St. Brown, Flowers stacked up with Lamar, Sutton, and Jacoby. And then Harold Fannin, kind of to build off that rookie breakout year that he had there in Cleveland, with that unique skill set that he brings to the table as a wide receiver. So again, for those that are just joining, this is a underdog big board draft, $10 buy-in. It's got a 3 out of 12, 1 out of 10, 1 out of 10 advance rate with a 558 seat final, 223,000 entrants, and it's a 20-round draft. Typically in these formats, I'm trying to get either 2 elite tight end, 2 elite quarterbacks, or 3 solid quarterbacks with the 20 rounds. I think it's wise to get the 3 more often than not. Tight end, I kind of fluctuate between 2 and 3 depending on how early I go with draft capital towards the tight end position and just kind of what the texture of that room looks like. Here, I like both of these running backs that are left on the board. I also like the idea of getting Jared Goff here to continue on my stack. Monty and Jadarian Price. Price goes. I like that Price. He's a prospect out of Notre Dame for those that don't know. All right, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and just lock up Jared Goff and be done. Probably be done with the quarterback position, although I could maybe tack somebody on late. I like Monty. I could definitely go Monty here as well, but like the like the idea of stacking up Goff with St. Brown. So I have 2 stacks going now with both my quarterbacks: Goff to St. Brown, Jackson, Henry, and Zay Flowers. We'll kind of look to see what we can add here. In terms of the wide receivers, I do like Godwin. Also like Jonah Coleman from Washington. He seems to be a solid prospect. He goes not quite as high on these other 2 guys, Marks and JCM. I think there's some risk with both of those guys. Okay, here it's between Denzel Boston and Chris Godwin. I don't have any rookie upside. Generally, I do like to get at least 1 rookie on the team, sometimes a couple more. So I'm going to go ahead and roll the dice with Boston. He's a little bit past ADP. I think he's a solid prospect. He's definitely, I think, a rung down from the top 3 guys, Lemon, Tyson, and Carnell Tate, but I do think he's a really good player. So go ahead and get a rookie on the team. There's a lot more wide receiver value in this range too. Also quarterbacks. I kind of like to wait because there's this sweet pocket back here. Kind of right around Kamara. Then you get into guys like Spears and Charbonnet, Rashad White, Brooks, and Jones. So that's a nice little pocket back here. So I kind of like to build into that when I want to add some depth into my running back room. But we are, let's see here, 8 picks away. Again, this is the big board, $10 buy-in, and 200,000 to first. All right, I'm going to go Jaden Higgins. Like the player a lot, like what he put on tape last year as a rookie. Kind of see him as the other outside wide receiver in that offense, opposite of Nico. So yeah, with Nico kind of on one side and then Higgins on the other, I think he has a chance to get a lot of playing time this year. Showed enough last year as a rookie, and obviously they're getting Tank back, but he's gone through a lot injury-wise. So yeah, I just think that there's a lot of opportunity here at this cost. Higgins has a lot of upside, not only given his profile, his athletic profile, but his likely role on the team. I think it's only going to grow relative to last year. So let's recap it. Well, actually, we'll go ahead and wait. Let's get one more pick in here, and then we will recap the team. Not really clicking Gainwell in this range. I just think that's a little rich. I know he had a good year last year, but when these guys have 3 or 4 good games and they come shooting up the board, I'm always a little reluctant to make those clicks. I do like Gainwell's profile. He's got good pass catching chops, but I just think this might be a little rich. So I haven't been clicking him a ton in this range. Tyrone Tracy, he's cheaper, by about 30, 40 picks than he was last year. So I think his price is more reasonable. I'm okay with Tracy. I'm okay with Dobbins. Benson, a little reluctant there, just given the turnover in Arizona. Nathaniel Hackett as the OC. I don't know. A lot going on down there in Arizona. I think there's better picks. So for me, it's between both of these two guys, and I can go either way. I have Sutton. It's not guaranteed that Dobbins is coming back, although they said they'd like to have one more. Even if Dobbins doesn't come back, he's a free agent. He's going to go somewhere else. I think he's going to have a role. He had a really good year before he kind of had, I think it was an ankle injury, a little past midway. All right, let's recap it. We have Lamar Jackson and Jared Goff. Lamar stacked up with Derrick Henry and Zay Flowers. Jared Goff is stacked up with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Running back is Henry, Hall, and Dobbins. Wide receivers, Brown, Flowers, Sutton, Myers, Boston, Higgins, and then Harold Fannin at tight end. So said wide receiver because he basically is a wide receiver, but at tight end. So feel pretty good about this build. I'm thinking of maybe adding one more wide receiver on this team just because the investment was so heavy so early. So this will probably be a 7 wide receiver team. Time to kind of get into the meat of the running backs at this point. I think there's a lot of value back here, and we can definitely add 3 or 4 more guys at the running back position, and then I'll want to sprinkle in another tight end or 2. But so far, I like the profiles and texture of the wide receiver room in particular. Obviously, we got the one tight end who's good, and then we have a nice combination of players at quarterback. We do need to make up some ground here, I think, in the running back room, but I do feel good about these 3. And if we make some nice picks here on the back half of the board, I think that this running back room could, even though it may be the weakest point on the team, I think we can address it in such a way where we can build in some upside so that maybe by the end of the year, it's maybe starts off as the weakest position group, and by the end of the year it could be a strength. That's the goal, is to build 3 rooms really strong. You'll have a known weakness likely in one of your rooms, and you got to build it in such a way that by the end of the year it's looked at as a strength on your team. That's the theory. Now we got to put it into practice. After I make these 2 picks, I'll talk a little bit about my experience playing best ball and kind of tell you how I did last year. Okay. I like Spears and Rachaad White. Both these guys, I think I'm going to go with Tyjae Spears. Like the player, like the fact that he's involved in the passing game. Tennessee just hired Brian Daboll as the new offensive coordinator. I think that's going to obviously help Cam Ward significantly. You could see I wasn't too far off with White because he went next. Thought there was a chance he could come back, but that's not the case. Anyway, I think that's going to be a much better offense than last year down there in Tennessee. You're getting Spears this year in the 50s, where I think that only happened for like a 2-week period last year when he got hurt. Otherwise, you were paying more like the 130s. And now, even though he had a pretty decent year, he's going even cheaper on an offense that's improving with an OC that's likely better than the OC that they had last year. So, like his price, and we will continue on. Sharps goes. Braylon Allen goes. All right, I'm going to go Monty Vidal, who is going to be in Tennessee, or Sean Tucker as the 2 to Bucky. I think those 2 are close. I'm going to go Sean Tucker. May have made more sense to go Vidal, just given some divisional correlation, but I'm not going to get too wrapped around the axle on that. I think Sean Tucker's a good player. He's shown in a few games last year with Rachaad White exiting Tampa Bay. I think he's got a good chance to split some time with Bucky. And at 161 as, probably a pretty locked in number 2, I think that's a pretty darn good price. So now we're up to 5 in the running back room. Derrick Henry, Breece Hall, J.K. Dobbins, Tyjae Spears, and Tucker. We'll definitely want to add probably 2 more to that room, and then kind of go from there. I think on the next turn, if I could get like a Trey Tucker or Isaac Tesla for the stack, that would be pretty cool. Tesla. Also, like Vidal, if he's there. Trey Tucker goes. All right, so Tesla's definitely a target here for the stack with Goff. I feel like Trey Harris, Surratt, Dylan Sampson. These are the guys I'm targeting. Let's see how the board treats us. Don't want to forget about tight end. I've kind of done that a little bit. All right, I'm going to go Vidal. Really like what he did last year, what he put on tape. Saw the explosiveness in the passing game where he ripped off a couple really long runs. I think he had one as long as like 65 yards. That's super impressive. Also, during his time filling in for Omari Hampton, when he was out with the knee injury, he had multiple 2-touchdown games. He had, a couple 20-point games, 20-plus point games in fantasy. So he obviously has some ceiling to his game, is involved in the passing game. Offense should get a major upgrade with Joe Alt and Rashad Slater coming back at the tackle positions. So excited about, Vidal and, his role as kind of the number 2 there in Los Angeles. Feel really good about this room now. Definitely want to kind of maybe shift gears, focus a little bit on the wide receiver and tight ends to kind of close this out. You guys have any questions or comments? Feel free to drop them in the chat. Trey Tucker goes. If you guys like the content or want to come back and give it a few more tries and see if it grows on you, definitely give me a follow on Twitter at FantasyFitIO. Check out the website. Got a whole bunch of free content out there and player rankings. And then obviously there's some paid services as well. Definitely going to get one of these players that I like here, possibly more. Okay, Ferguson goes. I'm going to go ahead and man, Njoku this late feels really hard to pass up on. Let's go Njoku. Get that second tight end. Njoku's a free agent. He's not coming back to Cleveland. He should land somewhere. Hopefully pretty good. But he's been really good for a while now, so I think he'll do pretty decent in free agency. Got him about 8 picks past ADP, so feeling good about that. Obviously, would like to stack with Tesla, but I don't obsess over those things. I think early in my best ball drafting, I over correlated, and as much as I think correlation matters, I don't want to do it at the expense of maybe drafting players that are either more talented or I need more, as like a tiebreaker if there's two players that are relatively similarly ranked. Make sure you're doing the right thing and filling out your roster spots accordingly. There's always a chance he falls back. If not, still a couple guys on the board that I like here. So Torrey Horton. Can't really get on board with Coleman. Sorry about that. Kind of like all three of these guys. I think they've got some spike week upside in their game. We saw the touchdowns last year with Tesla. Torrey Horton had a really good preseason before things kind of fell apart when he got injured. But yeah, that's kind of how I feel there. I'm good with Mims or Tesla. I think they can both add a nice kind of spike week. Even Flournoy as a 3. I like that. Tesla comes back to us, so that's an easy click for me here. Didn't overpay, didn't reach. Got him 16 picks past ADP and stacked him up with St. Brown and Jared Goff. So that came together really nicely. And that happens, right? When you're patient, that's the kind of stuff that'll happen. So feel good about that. I think we're done in the wide receiver room. Maybe add one more. We'll just have to see. But yeah, as this kind of plays out here, Caleb Johnson, Rashard, Najee, Jordan James. Where's Jordan James? Keaton's a free agent, for those that don't know. And out here on Fantasy Fitness, this page is entirely free. You can go to the fantasyfitness.players.players. It's right in my bio. You can look at all the free agents right now that are out there. So easy way to see who's a free agent. I'm going to go ahead and take Caleb. We'll get some divisional correlation. And that's between Pittsburgh and Baltimore and Cleveland. So kind of got 3 pieces of that AFC North. And that could be useful as those teams play each other, potentially get matched up week 17, since we don't know schedules yet. So now we're rolling a 2-7-7-2. 2 more picks left. Yeah, I could always tack on like a late, like Tyson, if I don't like anything else out here. Do like Bateman. I think that could make sense as like an 8. And then one of these two, let me get Bateman back on there. Bateman, Flournoy, Najee, Jordan James. Okay. Najee goes. Do like that pick. Okay, getting to the finish line here. 2 more picks, and then we'll recap the team. Wouldn't it hurt to look at the tight end position either? James goes. I think that would have been a nice click, but I'm pretty good with the 6 that we, excuse me, the 7 that we do have. So even if we go 2 more wide receivers here or wide receiver and a tight end, I'm okay with that. Let's go Bateman. Continue the stack with Lamar. That gets us an 8. Yep. So that's our last and final wide receiver. We'll recap that here in a second. And then running back or tight end here. Everybody's kind of given up on Elijah Arroyo. I'm not really sure what that's all about. I mean, he didn't do a lot his rookie year. AJ Barner came on pretty strong, but he did get some playing time towards the end. I think he was even playing in the Super Bowl, if I remember right. And he is a second-year player out of Miami. He does have the wide receiver profile. I'm not sure how good his blocking skills are, and maybe that's what's limiting him getting on the field. But I think as a wide receiver or as a pass-catching tight end, which is what we look for in fantasy, I like it. Jake too, with the injury to Kittle, I think he could make sense as like a final pick here. I know he probably won't have a role week 17, but he could help shepherd, these guys along early on in the season injuries. He goes. All right, let's take a quick look here. Evan Ingram, Elijah Arroyo. We'll go for the upside of Arroyo, and we'll go ahead and make that final click. All right, so that's the team. Let's take a quick look. Went with a 2 quarterback build. Like I said, I'll normally do 3, but with Lamar and Goff right around 100 plus getting a little extra value there, Lamar, I decided to make this a 2 quarterback build. Lamar is stacked up with Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, and Rashad Bateman. And then we have Jared Goff stacked up with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Isaac TeSlaa. Continuing on with the running backs, we have Breece Hall, J.K. Dobbins, who's a free agent, Tyjae Spears, Sean Tucker, Kamani Vidal, and Caleb Johnson. That's a nice 7 with some upside there. And then wide receiver room, we have St. Brown, Flowers, Sutton, Jakobi Meyers, rookie upside in Denzel Boston, Jaden Higgins, second-year breakout, Isaac TeSlaa, second-year breakout, and then Rashad Bateman for the stack. And then at the tight end position, we close it out with Fannin, 6 picks past ADP, David Njoku, 8 picks past ADP, I guess, and then Elijah Arroyo for kind of that second-year breakout upside. So I think the texture in these rooms is solid. I like the value that we got on each of these players. We were very patient throughout the draft. Guys fell to us, got the stacks we wanted, and still got the players we wanted. Pass catching profiles, at least in part, in the running back room. So yeah, overall, I would rank this as a pretty solid best ball team. You guys let me know what you think in the comments. I'll be back on tonight, either running solo or on a stream with Bindles and Zero Fuchs. as I like to say. Those guys are going to have a stream tonight if all goes as planned. If not, I'll run a solo pod, and hopefully I see you guys on later. We'll be doing some more underdog big board drafts. If you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to hit me up on Twitter. I'm at FantasyFitIO. If you like the content, give me a follow, or just so you get the updates on when I'm going to be going live. Also have a YouTube channel you guys can check out, and then also feel free to check out the website, the web app I'm working on that I kind of plugged at the beginning of the podcast here, www.fantasyfitness.io. Go ahead and check that out. There's a whole bunch of free content out there on these players. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the stream. Appreciate you all being here. Had a great time, and we will talk to you soon. Peace.